Hey, what's up, guys? It's Phil Trigger here with another deck profile. This time we have Blazing Flare. This deck's been kind of in demand for a little while, but I finally got the stuff I needed to make the deck. So here we go. It's pretty basic. I call this the Soul of the Kagero. This is a very it's a moderate deck. You need to know what you have to do in this deck. But I'll explain after the entire list and all that. But yeah, I'll get more to the whole Soul of Kagero thing later. Alright, so the starter will be 2 Conros. 1 Conro will be a starter, obviously. This is the better search out your units, because remember, this is a Superior Ride deck, just like my Aleph build that I showed before. You need the pieces for that Superior Ride combo to go off. So 2 is pretty much just a good number. The first one searches out 1 piece, the second one searches out the other piece or another utility card. Trigger-wise, we have 4 heals, very standard. 4 critical, just for more aggression in the deck, and we have 8 draws. This deck is very aggressive. It doesn't focus too much on defense, but I run 8 draws mainly to get my pieces and also to speed up through the deck, because like any other basically Superior Ride deck I have, I usually like to finish the game quickly because my steam wears off very quickly, so I run the 8 draws to better go through my deck. This deck doesn't do well on the defensive side. That's why you have to keep up an aggression, and that's why you have to keep up, just keep attacking and never let go of that. Grade 1s, we have 2 Iron-Tailed Dragon, essential piece for the combo. Now, why am I running 2 only? Well, 1, it's searchable by Conro, and also it can easily be drawn into. I mainly run 2 just so I don't clog up so much. I've been trying to fit more, but the build won't allow it. Then we have 4 Bar, very essential in this deck, simply because it's just a high beater, and this is a very aggressive deck, not much defense to it. 4 Kimnara. Kimnara, it's one of those main phase killers. You Soul Charge, Counterblast 1, put him into Soul, and then you knock out a grade 1 or lower, I think. No, just a grade 1 unit and retire it. Very good for getting rid of your opponent's back row, and this deck also does well at walling. So yeah, check that out. And then we have our standard 3 Null Guard for the grade 1s. Grade 2 wise, we have 4 Blazing Core Dragon. This is the Superior Ride key. You have him, Iron Tail, and Gatling Claw. You Counterblast 1, add him to Soul, and then Superior Ride into Blazing Flare. This deck does need to run the Superior Ride. Blazing Flare can go without the Superior Ride, but it takes a while to build him up. As soon as I have the Blazing Flare Superior Ride set up, I have enough Soul to basically abuse him, along with maybe an extra Kimnara. So it sets up the Soul very easily, and it's just very easy to pull off of them. And then we have 3 Berserk, another basically the grade 2 of Kimnara, Counterblast 2. When it's brought out, knock out a rear guard on your opponent's side of the field during the main phase. And it has to be grade 2 or lower. Again, just a good card in this deck. Then we have 4 Nahalem, consistent beater, 10k interceptor, very good. And then for grade 3 lineups, we have 2 Vortex Dragon. This deck does do a lot of counterblasting, but like most of the cards I have Mega Blast in them, I do not focus on the Mega Blast. I focus on the effect. It Soul Charges, so it gives me a chance to reuse Blazing Flare at least once more. Or I can simply just charge up a bit. It doesn't really matter how much I build. But the main reason he's used is because he becomes a 12 beater, which allows him to go into those 2,000 magic numbers, which is a common number for a Vanguard to be at 10,000 attack. Then we have 3 Seal Dragon Blockade. This is more of a finishing move than anything else. After I wear out your forces and bring out Blockade, you can intercept. Again, it's the same principle. You lose shield as with any unit you play on board, so it just screws you over. And then finally we have Blazing Flare. Blazing Flare, that's a common misconception that you can use his effect more than once. Commonly, this deck will not use the effect more than once. It will use it once, and that's about it, unless I get super lucky and my opponent doesn't kill me. But it does well because it's just one selective. It gets rid of 1 rear guard. But remember, this deck is not about all-out aggression. Kagero's, the reason I call this deck the Heart of Kagero's is because it's aggro control. It's a very aggressive deck, yes, because they all gain power boost, but mainly it's a control deck as well, simply because I have control of what you play on the board. Also, I can wall the crap out of you with this deck. It's very easy. I mainly target grade 1s with this deck, simply because that's where your power comes from. But I can also get rid of interceptors if I don't want you to guard and I don't have my blockade set up, etc. You can do a number of things with this deck. You just have to think it out and be careful with your plays. But overall, Blazing Flare is amazing because he gains 3,000 when a unit on your opponent's side of the field is retired during the main phase, which is what Kimnara, Berserk, and him do. As well as a Gatling Claw, but you get the point. Very good unit overall. And basically his other effect is Soul Blast 5, choose a unit just radar your opponent controls and retire it, which you can only use once, remember. But you have to be careful with that. You have to be selective, and you don't want to just spam it out like crazy. So yeah, common combos with this deck are just basically Pekinara, Berserk, or Gatling to the Blazing. Usually want to have Blazing Flare backed up by a bar. This deck does counterblast a lot, so be careful on how you use your units. Do not go blindly counterblasting. In fact, don't try to counterblast until you have your Blazing Flare as your Vanguard. That way you can have a nice 21 beater on the field. If you do not have Blazing Flare, you can always go for Blockade or Vortex and then just keep poking and reducing your opponent's rear guards. But again, you don't want to burst in this deck. You want to have slow, consistent destructions. You don't want to just use 3 Kimnaras and one Berserker in one turn. It doesn't work like that. But you always want to have Blazing Flare backed up by bar, so he's an 18. Use a Kimnara. Kimnara is the most common one, along with a Gatling or a Berserker. One of those 3, retire a unit, he gets a 3,000 boost, you push. It's very simple. The reason you do this is because that's Blazing Flare's advantage, basically. You knock out units, you gain powers from it, which is why I call this deck the soul of the Kagero. I mean, this deck does exactly what Kageros were designed to do. Retire, gain power. Simple as that. There's not much to it, but it's a very technical deck, but it's also, again, very aggressive. It runs out of steam when you have no more things to blow up shit with, or just run out of counterblast. So again, you want to be very careful with this deck. Thankfully, it does have backup options, but they're still, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I'm sorry I had to be on the iPod, kind of shaky cam and all that, but I don't have my stand on me, and my stand doesn't even hold my iPod. Yeah. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will bring some matches with this later in the weekend. So yeah, peace guys.